Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So again, I am Earl Marquez, HIFI Advocacy Coordinator, and we are back for round two of the Designing a Creative Economy. And we have today three of our last speakers again, and another set of speakers moving forward. So we have today Sir Marvin, Conanan, Ms. Pauline, Juan, and Sir John Teodosio. Ayan. So since na-realize namin na we are all yappers, yung warm-up today is just one question.
Si Marvin hindi yapper.
Ay, hindi ba yapper? Oh, yap. Okay, sige. Para kay Sir Marvin. Pero for the warm-up question, and before we go deeper, what's the most Filipino creative thing you've seen recently that made you think this deserves a global attention?
Warm up ba yan? Yan yung mahirap. Ano ka ba?
Ay, ito ba yung mahirap,
Do you
miss?
have to use the mic kahit mga sub
Yan yung wala
comments
akong sagot
namin.
eh. Sige, mauna kayo.
Sige.
hirap actually.
Ah, kasi parang yung na-realize namin na parang, okay, parang ang haba na agad nung discussion if I started with the 1 to 3.
Yeah.
So, I started with this one. Pwede na
Walang
ako mag-isip.
specific thing, I guess. I mean, sobrang cliche. Laging it lands on the jeepney. Kasi that's what you see. And that's what's different. Kasi like, sometimes like colors of the houses, green, blue, ganyan. But then again, when you go to like Mexico, they have that. There are a lot of like things na unfortunately third world culture siya na we think na it's ours. Pero in jeepney parang I haven't really seen something anything like that. So parang yun, if we're gonna go down to it, baka maybe in depth like just fonts, design, something like that. Baka there can be more push on that. Pero yeah, yun lang yung top of mind.
Yeah, if we talk siguro something specific. I know nandun ka yata sa Baller Room last time. Yeah, that's really fun. Like the concept of
I watched that one. It's
yeah,
really
just having
good.
like really good DJ sets. I don't know if you've seen yung kay Sky Dominic. It's one of the best sets na impromptu that I've heard recently. Just having a bunch of guys playing basketball in the background, like if we talk inherently Filipino, infusing those two things and into this very consumable program. And I enjoyed that very much.
Actually, asked my students to watch that. Tapos sabi nila, hala sir, parang yung iba since bago sa kanila, parang, hala sir, parang ang weird. Pero at the same time, it's so creative now. While they're playing basketball, they vibe on the DJs. So parang, as, for the newer or younger ones na nakakakita, it's really an inspo for them.
Yeah, exactly. How about you, Miss Pauline?
How about you,
Wala
miss?
akong sagot eh. But, having said that, I haven't reflected on it, but just off the top of my head, parang I'm so encouraged now when I look at the performing arts scene and then you see the effort, particularly with theater, and then that, there's a meeting of like global, the global productions and the local talent, and local talent making it abroad. So we've always known that our performing artists are, top notch and the best in the world, but it's never really been, parang it's always a hypothesis. It's never really been proven. But the fact that more and more you see Sophia from Cat's Eye, right? And then the cast in the pit who won the SAG Awards as Best Ensemble. And then more and more people, our performing artists are breaking out of just the shell that is the Philippines, right? So you have Chorus Line that came here, and then diba, the entire production, and then Lea Salonga keeps with Les Mis. So I feel like that has been that has been a sector in the performing in the creative economy that's long been parang that's long been underserved and under-recognized, even if we know we have so much talent. Because when you look at it, our singers, our dancers, our actors and actresses have been all over the world and are in cruise ships and hotel lounges, singers all over, right? But just that next step to get global recognition. So that more and more names, parang I can't even keep up with it now, right? Na parang, oh, she's Pinoy pala or he's Pinoy pala. That when you see that, I think that's more, that adds more fuel to the fire for the creatives to just dream bigger and strive harder to if hindi kaya dito sa Pilipinas, to realize that all the world's a stage and that they can do it.
To, I guess to mesh them together. Like I like what John mentioning sa ballroom, but also taking from that is just yung I'm excited about like parang local artists, creatives finding ways to uh, parang use global comms to promote like cultures that's innate within our shores. Parang yun, ballroom, I mean basketball, like basketball, everyone knows basketball. We are a basketball country, pero through the music platform or through like that channel, they are able to maybe like find ways on how to push that further. So with that trend, I'm hoping na well there's a lot of like platforms you can use in your openness in that ng artists, local movements na it can't just be us also, and parang we have to understand that audiences need to understand what we do and how do we like go about that.
So since we're talking about the Filipino creatives, most Filipino creative. So the next question is, can you guys share from the last roundtable that we did and until up to now, can you share at least a milestone from your individual endeavors on ano yung mga mini or like milestone achievement as a creative na nangyari from last September up to now?
Well, sa akin yung Purveyor Fair. I guess. Hindi siya mini. Yeah, that's the biggest that we've done. After our talk, siguro a couple of weeks after, we did our biggest. And yeah, there's excitement there for us and for the communities that we support. Is energizing and really inspiring for us to do more this year. So, yeah, yun. I'll keep it at
Uy,
short lang at there.
Teaser pala yun.
Ah.
Teaser.
Yeah.
So, kayo po.
Madman is turning 5 this year. So, siguro that's a milestone kasi, you know, advertising agency, especially in the startup scene, hindi mahaba yung lifespan nila. But for us, we're very fortunate to be able to reach like at least 5 years. Although we're looking for like a lifetime longer. But for now, we're here. We're turning 5 and yeah, we're still very young. I still have young creatives under our team and I'd like to keep it that way for the next 50.
Hey, Miss Pauline.
Well, we launched Mabuhay magazine, so I'm the co-editor for that. Siguro after maybe a short while after our last talk. So that's the in-flight magazine for Philippine Airlines, and which we parang reconceptualize. So it's not a travel magazine. So what we're really doing is trying to tell stories that talk about the heart of the Filipino. It's a tagline of PAL, but I guess it's the truth. We wanted to a venue to be able to talk about Filipino excellence to the audience of PAL, to the passengers.
Actually, we were also amazed na after the talk, sakto na when we launched the talk actually, is sabay-sabay nga din na Purveyor Fair and then Mabuhay Magazine launch and then I've seen projects posted from Madman. From your individual endeavors, siguro since we're all creatives, parang many people see creativity as purely artistic. So, but each of your works in spaces where creative ideas must also travel, scale, and generate value. What was the turning point in your career when you realized that creativity could drive business, not just an expression?
I feel like siguro the better path for the conversation is not to get lost between the semantics of art and design. Like that's very fundamental in the conversation of like creative economies, right? But for the most part, if we talk turning point, it's understanding the difference between those two things. Like what you do for yourself, like most of it is just like kung ano yung nagpapasaya sa'yo as an artist, as a creative and all that. Oftentimes, the truth is, it doesn't really meld with what you need to do para kumita ka ng pera. So, the turning point would probably be the maturity that comes with like understanding and accepting the fact na you have to sacrifice a few of your creative spaces para mag-allow for these like for this balance, for it to be like something that you can earn from constantly and everything. But yeah, the thing is, ayoko naman maging sobrang pessimistic na ganun siya all throughout. You know, like as you work towards like building your own name and platform and all that, it gets better. But you can start off with understanding that hard truth, siguro.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's just the reality of I need to earn money. You know what I mean? Like, you do this for the love, but eventually, wala ka ng baon. You don't get anything from your family or anything else. Like, it's just really you that needs to feed yourself. And that's when you're up front with the reality of, okay, how do I go about this? Do I work? Do I find a reason for this to work for me? And I think dun lang, like I think we had to talk kanina na creative economy when we started. There was no conversation about that, and I think that's why you're doing this also. Like, even if meron siya at that time, I don't think while I was in college I will read about it. You know what I mean? Na parang it's just too serious. Like, creative economy is just too serious for a young kid just wanting to create. But when you start, that's when, and then when you're off school na, that's when you kind of like you have to think about it. You have to think about like how am I gonna live every day? How am I gonna pay for what I want and what I need every day?
Yeah, but the first few years out of school, those were bliss in the sense that hindi mo pa kasi masyadong kailangan ng pera.
Yeah.
Or okay lang magtiis at magtimpi ka, diba? So, to be honest, I haven't met any passionate creative who would say, I would do this for free. Because at the end of the day, it's the work that feeds you. And it for the longest time when I was working at Preview, it didn't really matter how much I was earning because I was really obsessed with the work and, you know, and enjoying what I was. It was not work.
Obsessed with capital O.
Diba?
Obsessed.
And it wasn't work. Na no matter what obstacles came your way, it was actually fun trying to navigate all that. And then as Marvin nga says, one day it just bites you. You just realize, oh, I need to earn, I need to monetize, or hindi na pwedeng, diba? Parang hindi na pwedeng for the love of na lang. So I know a lot of creatives who become entrepreneurs and find like a parallel sector to work in, just because it's easier to monetize in the other sectors. For example, food, diba? Or or creating products and selling products, or becoming influencers. Those are parang you can easily see how to monetize it. For a lot of creatives, I feel though, to like enter into, let's say, an agency or a publishing house wherein you're employed, that becomes really difficult, especially if there's a ladder you have to go up to, diba? Because at least if you're earning your own, you can kind of control how it is you accept and parang charge, right? Pag swelduhan ka, that's the harder part, and that's and for me, that was because I was employed, and so at the end of the day, it was also how am I able to give value to the company. So as an employee, what are the accounts that I bring in? How do I represent the brand? How do I grow the brand? How do we innovate? What other, at that point in time when I was still at Preview, what other medium or what other media can we expand to aside from print? We did online, we did social media, we did TV, we did TV guests. So parang how to expand that and then find other areas of to earn revenue. So there's that also, and then you realize that it's not just purely creative. Because at the end of the day, also, when you talk to the bosses and you're employed, and you know this obviously because you have your kids do this to you, mag, 'di ba? There's a profit and loss at the end of the statement. At the end of the day, how much are you earning? How much will it give? So, I think one of the turning points as a creative was realizing that when you went up next to when you went up to management, that you couldn't defend it by just saying it's never been done. A lot of people will that you had to argue in dollars and cents, right? In pesos. What is your rate of advertising return? What is the how the because at the end of the day, it's a creative economy. So again, it's about how to earn, how to monetize.
And going siguro one step deeper is like lahat ng tayo entrepreneurs rin in our own sense. Once you generally started this as our own, but eventually we employ people. So parang I guess that's one way, another reason for us to think about it na okay, if I'm earning this much and I'm okay with that, how can I give that also to an employee? I mean, how can I bring that up? Because everyone, like you understand in yourself like what you need. So how can you give that to someone else also? So I think that's when it becomes deeper and heavier. But I feel like not everyone understands. Like when people go in, like companies, they just think that this is how much I need to earn. But then most of the time when craves start their own businesses na, they're surprised na this is how much a business costs pala. You know what I mean? Like parang when we charge as creatives and when people ask us, we don't think about like, is the business big enough? Am I working with someone who can really afford this? And when they, hindi naman lowball, but I guess parang the understanding goes back and forth that as a client, but also as a worker, that sometimes it's difficult to find a balance of both worlds, like as a starting creative and then eventually starting entrepreneur or a businessman.
Since we talk about the start and the word expand, I'm curious ako. I know we already tackled this last roundtable, but medyo like a few himay lang, sir. Kuya, for everyone. Siguro for example, for purveyor, parang what was the time or yung thought niyo, sir, on hala, okay, I think this gonna work. So I'll expand.
So when we scale.
Yeah, scale.
Wait. I mean, I think I guess it's different also when you start small. There's a lot of like ways, but siguro I'll just talk about like how we did it. We always do it in a way na I'm comfortable with the risk. And I'm comfortable with the failure that I could get from that risk. You know what I mean? Na parang I can't let's just talk numbers. Let's say, syempre before, like, $1 million is so big for me. So parang if $1 million is so big for me and I can't even go to the point, parang I can't pressure myself na this is how much I should earn to produce this project. So if I don't have that, then ang hirap talaga. But then maybe I have 300, 400,000. I think that's my capacity right now. So I kind of aim for that. So even if it loses or I fail at that, parang it doesn't really break me or the project that I'm doing. Kasi it's easy to dream. It's easy to create stuff in your mind and all. Pero execution talaga, I think that's the most vital. And that's what helped us, I guess, the gradual growth. But it takes longer. Like, Purveyor Fair has been there since 2016. So that's 10th year this year. Pero nakaka-11 pa lang naman kami. So, but yeah, it's just a gradual increase of what we're trying to do in understanding that yung kaya namin, like capacity of the team, of myself also.
How about you, sir?
Feeling ko, it's a very natural course naman that businesses take. You scale when No,
Healing
what
as
I
a
mean
visual-
is you start scaling when, in our case, we're in the service industry, right? So when more clients were coming in, and when I wanted to house more creatives, of course you scale. So I didn't want to say no to the clients. These are work na gusto ko talagang gawin that I want to see my team do as well. So you try to take on that responsibility. But if we talk like specific scenario, this is so elementary. But nung nag-review kami ng like yearly finances, and then I realized na, oh crap, 3 months na lang yung worth na pasweldo na meron ako. Yung mga ganun kasi as a business owner, that's when you realize na, okay, this is not like child's play. Like you're actually dealing with the lives of your employees, responsibilidad mo sila to some degree. So when you take on that responsibility, you try to do good with it. And by doing good in the economic sense, you try to extend the lifespan and everything. So yun lang yung naging very rudimentary focus ko nung when I realized that I wanted to prolong and make sure that I have a job, like these people have a job for a very long time. And you start off with that, and scaling comes na lang as soon as like expertise comes in as well. You realize that, oh, I think we're better at this, we're better at that, let's invest more in this sector of our business and all that. But that starts off with pressure.
Pressure. Kaya
An opportunity.
And
Yeah,
opportunity, of course.
Yes. miss.
Or vision.
Ayan.
No, umiling ako kanina because I wanted to dispute that na it's a natural progression that people feel like after you grow from a small business that you're automatically ready to scale. I mean, having worked at Saitem and being with a lot of, the official term is MSME, right? Micro, small, and medium enterprises, particularly in the home fashion and lifestyle sectors as well as food. Parang you see in the food sector, it's a lot more natural, the progression to scale, as opposed to the home fashion and lifestyle. I think, and this is just my hypothesis, is because mas artists yung entrepreneurs in that sector. So for example, when IKEA first came in, we were talking about how many are there any companies willing to manufacture for IKEA, because obviously if you're coming into the Philippines, it would be a really good way to help the economy, right? And then I remember I was in this one talk with a group of manufacturers, and then because the problem then was nobody could meet the specs of IKEA to scale. And then, but some of the manufacturers were like, yeah, but I'm just gonna make this one chair at like that volume, pero that one chair lang. Paano naman kami? So it's like, okay, pero may kakainin ka, diba? Kikita ka for that. So, but of course, they'd have to invest in expanding the factory to meet the capacity and the volume that IKEA wanted. But at the end of the day, you could see that the entrepreneur was thinking like an artist, or parang for his or her creative fulfillment, rather than I want to produce a factory that can meet the volume of IKEA. So parang those were the problems that were coming out, and I think particularly certain sectors of the creative economy, let's just say that I feel like if you're a creative, and then like for example you come into Benilde to design and arts, that the emphasis of the education is on design and art, that entrepreneurship is put on the back seat, or you kind of expect people to be natural entrepreneurs. But when you go out there, it's not just so much na kailangan you had accounting courses, right? Because in my experience in Saitem, the biggest block is really finance. And the biggest block is paano ko popondohan tong business? How do I scale? Obviously kasi you bring them to a trade show and then somebody orders 3 containers a month. And then, atras na si entrepreneur because, oh shoot, I cannot do that volume. And then it never occurs to them, I can borrow from a bank. I can, diba, I can borrow against my purchase order. So, financial literacy in that sense is not something that's taught. And so, unless you have that background, ang hirap sabihin dun sa entrepreneur na there are so many ways to fund and lalo na scale that business. Right? Because once you start exporting, and this is really also another pain point, is that we bring so many companies to trade shows around the world, and then the buyers come back and say, but you can't meet the volume we want. And then you're like, okay. And then so a lot of people come in and think and price themselves really high. So they're also not able to scale. So it's not, again, it's finance, because how do you create a capacity so that your price points are good enough so that you earn money when you scale? Rather than, I think what happens, the propensity here is, mataas ang talent fee ko. Tapos, di ba, per piece. Tapos, sino na lang ang, or even for an agency, sino na lang ang may kaya. Kasi, di ba, when you put together, how much do you pay for hair and makeup, for creative direction, for the talent, for, when all of that adds up, it's like, really? How many, even if you're like a multinational, how many companies have that budget to spend all the time, right? So, we're
I think, Miss,
there.
that's where I start na. Even me, myself, as a creative, also as I do, like, also freelance outside, I think di ko masasurvive din ngayon yung being a creative if I wasn't exposed to freelance. I'm a working student. So, parang, even before, parang, even my friends right now, na parang, kanina lang po may nag-chat sa akin na, sir, student ko, parang, sir, nag-a-ask sila ng official quotation, paano ba gumawa? So even the younger creatives itself, parang I think, ayun, totoo po yung financial literacy kasi parang kahit sila mismo na parang, ay sir, hindi ko pa kasi alam yung rate ko. Or kaya, sir, yan na ba talaga yung worth ko? And I think, for me, it's a huge part dapat ng education na financial literacy, even on creatives. Kasi even on the part of scaling, parang hirap din kami na us and Benilde HIFI. So we have a lot of creative startups, but then again the question is how do we scale as a creative? So it's a good starting discussion on other questions later.
No,
Yes,
I'll add
Marvin.
lang to that. I think the one more thing about scale is you have to understand the scale that you're coming into. Kasi parang when you talk about scale at this point now, when you're small or a bit bigger, growing bigger, you always think about like what, I guess financial nga. It's always financial. But then again, you most people don't think about the logistics of getting to that scale and what you need at that scale. Kasi going naman to what we do to events, at this certain event, like this size of event, parang we can look at it in a way na we earn from the tenants or sponsors, let's say. Kasi the cost of the event is just this. But let's say you do festivals na, I don't think anyone can pay the amount that you need. So now you can't rely on sponsors. So the scale shifts your business perspective and shifts your how you do business in itself. So I think one way to kind of like ease people to scaling is to understand na if I get to that point, is that something I'm okay with it to do?
Yeah, and last na, dagdag ko lang. I accept the dispute. Kasi yun yung that's what we're trying to do, right? Imagine I started the business without understanding where I really want to take it. I'm blessed enough na we got the opportunities, but not everyone is. Sometimes you have to understand na whenever you start something that you want to earn from, even if it's like from a creative background or anything, vision, like what they're saying, planning, understanding kung hanggang saan mo gustong i-take to. Like in our case, in agencies, you would always hear the term boutique agencies. And most of these boutique agencies, they choose to be boutique. They choose to stay boutique. And hindi yun show of weakness. That act of restraint is most likely planned. And understanding that is also part of like scaling. Yun nga sinasabi ni Marvin kanina. Anong scale? At what scale ba? When you say scale, kasi parang papalakihin ko siya and then if lumalaki pa, I'll just keep on saying yes, 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 yes. But like scaling also, what the most important part for me, lalo na at this point, is understanding like hanggang saan ba yung scale na gusto ko. And you really plan for that. You try to understand as much as you can about that like scale of business that you're trying to take your company into. So,
I think we get into parang it becomes difficult when you have to scale exponentially, not the scale na
Gradual.
diba, gradual. Kasi especially if you're selling product, right? Or export, well, which is selling product, right? If you're selling product, you reach that tipping point when suddenly somebody wants your product really badly, and if you don't meet the demand where it's at, then you lose that momentum, diba? So you're not able to service it, you're not able to scale. So yun yung, that's where it's really, really critical, diba?
Medyo nagising ako dun, miss. Like, me myself, I have my own startup. It's called the Cosi Music. So, parang after everything, since we have digital platforms right now, we produce, NFC is like a global technology. But how do we maximize it in the Philippines? So we develop a music card wherein it's like a collectible card wherein you buy the card to access exclusive music.
Yeah.
So it's more on providing artists a more like intimate thing. And then last year, parang nagising ako, miss, kasi parang we have an inquiry of 10,000 music cards and we said no because we don't know how to produce the 10,000 music cards in 2 months. So
Diba?
parang sabi, oh my God. So
So
yun
I
na pa.
think yun yung, those are things you have to plan for. How you're, lalo na if, diba, parang some people just wanna go to a trade show or just wanna advertise on social, or diba, when you invite something like that, you have to be ready that you can provide either the service or the product, and you know how to manufacture it, diba, basically. Kasi if you can't, sayang yung opportunity, tsaka sayang yung name mo na, diba, that you ask, you have the attention, and then suddenly when they want it, you just have to tell them, sorry, no, I can't service it. So you lose public trust that way.
Okay, so moving forward, and it's still about the scale one. I think part of scaling po kasi is really having more creatives on the team, investing on really, we're not a one-man production, right? So, what excites you most about the current generation of Filipino creatives? And are they approaching creativity differently from the previous generation? So, since it's part of scale, how is it working with young creatives right now?
I think every generation is exciting because it automatically brings newness. My friends and I always, and I'm sure you'll agree, my friends and I always talk about being in fashion is really parang interesting, tsaka nakakabata in a way, because you're really forced to understand and to encounter new ideas. You cannot just be stagnant, diba? So that's kind of like the best way to evolve and to see also the next generation of artists, diba? But I forgot now what your question is.
The question is,
Where
how is it
was I going?
how is it working with like the younger
Okay.
creatives, and how is it differently from the previous, or like iba ba yung take nila sa creativity, right? yung mga newer generation?
I think ang bago ngayon is the tools. So it's really exciting for me to see like the new generation work with AI. So we had a recent collaboration with John and his agency. And in particular, how they we produced a story wherein they used AI. It was for a history issue, and so they recreated parang Cebu in its throughout history using AI. So just the whole process of them being able to work out how to do it was really new, and I don't know if somebody else has done that in print, but really push forward AI to a mainstream audience who normally just thinks of AI as ay plagiarism yan kasi you ask them to write for you. But you know, just putting out there, because that story had a prompt kit that they developed as well, just to show people na oh, this is AI, this is how you work with it, these are the results that can come out with it. So that's only one example, but the way AI gives you the tools to shorten the research process, the workflow. So that one gives me a lot of hope with regards to parang the output of the current batch of creatives.
Sorry, sub-question lang po. How do you think, Miss, in your POV, like, what's right and what's wrong use of AI?
Alam mo, if you're stealing someone's idea, I mean, calling it your own, then that's wrong. That's theft. But the premise of AI is you work on, it's kind of postmodern in the sense that you build all the ideas together, right? I might have to think more about it, but or I haven't fully formed the thought yet. But I believe, kasi diba, you get all these on parang people say na what's gonna happen to actors, what's gonna happen to movies if AI can create Wes Anderson in whatever, right? I think that the fundamental rule of AI should be give credit where credit is due. And that you, rather than curtail it because hindi kaya yan, is to move it forward and bring the entire parang credit line with it so that you know how it evolved and where it evolved, diba? So that's where I'm at palang, but I don't know if I've fully thought about it.
Yeah.
Kasi parang baka you guys have something that would merit a dissent.
Yes. Yes.
I
Also with the
dispute.
new generation of creatives, how they use AI also.
Yeah. Well, to answer your question, that's the most exciting thing about it. Like, they have AI now. And if we talk like Filipino younger creatives, they're a lot more courageous. And sobrang democratized kasi, like, the systems that they grew up in. And those two things that don't usually go together, I feel, is the most exciting part of where Filipino creativity is going to. But to piggyback on the conversation that Pauline initiated, like, when we talk AI and like kung kailan siya mali and kailan siya tama, I feel like you talk about something that's inherently human. Like, we know that it's not really supposed to be like a complex conversation. Alam natin when it's wrong and when it's right. Like, when you're like what she said, kapag ninanakaw mo na, of course that's wrong, right? But we're still at the process of really understanding how to harness it. Ano nga ba talaga yung limitations ng usage natin? Because when did you really enjoy a fully AI-built media? or content, right? Di pa naman eh. We're still exploring it. We're still understanding paano ba natin talaga ito magagamit to actually make consumable content. If you look at like, ano ba yung mga trending na AI concepts ngayon, most of it is just trending kasi announced na AI siya. Like the main topic or the core of the material is, oh, it's AI. So kaya siya viral, kaya siya ano. But for the most part, it matures as we go and it develops into much more of a tool. And that's what I'm mostly excited about.
Add ko lang kanina, I said credit, but you have to credit and disclose. Diba?
Use
So
AI.
that,
Yeah.
so
That's right.
parang you have to be honest in the usage.
How about you, sir?
Well, the first question na lang muna. I think one is yung entrepreneur spirit of this batch or generation is much more much more sharpened. They're more risk takers in terms of the entrepreneur side or the economic side of creative economy or businesses. So that's at least in that sense mawala yung the starving artist. Like everyone's just surviving. And when we're given that freedom, I feel like you kind of like we felt like semblances of that in our own journeys na when you kind of have you don't need to earn as much na from this project but you just want to create. Parang when you're given that freedom, that's when we get to create more revolutionary stuff. So hopefully we're in the process of that with this generation. They understand how to learn from it and how to bend those things to create something for them and for others. And then another thing is how content is so innate to this generation na parang like before like millennial ako, so it has to be perfect. I mean parang it's so difficult to shed off that we were trained that way. It was so difficult to shed off that parang barrier that we can't share uninhibited or raw. I mean we can share pero it's just innate in us. That's for these kids naman na parang like there are kids who are good at content and there are those who's not really good at content, but everyone knows how to do it. You know what I mean? Like in our batch or in the older batch, like, everyone knows how to play basketball or understand basketball, but not everyone are good at it. So or sports. So parang content is that one thing that narratives, creating narratives, sharing content, sharing your own stories. I think that's being trained more or becoming more innate in how they grow up, how they do things. So that's exciting for me.
I have a AI question for you.
Sige, go. Pero wala masyadong AI. But okay.
No, but diba, well, primarily because purveyor is an IRL thing, right?
Yeah.
But do you find that AI affects you? I guess maybe in the sense that your merchants use AI, or how do you see it come in and like help or in terms of systems, in terms of diba?
I feel like I super limited lang yung knowledge ko or also at least practice ko of that kasi I never really dabbled into it yet. I feel like it's more of the process that AI will come in, will help a lot of creatives in terms of, let's say, accounting. Ganon. Yung mga stuff that I guess there's a conversation that I heard that the good thing about AI is they're gonna automate stuff that we don't like doing. You know what I mean? So I think that's where, if done right, if used right, I don't need an accountant or I don't need an admin. I mean, I need an admin, but I don't need to really learn so much about it, to spend like 10 hours of my week, 15 hours of my week to learn that. AI can help us. So I think that's the best part of AI. In terms of creativity, it really depends. I think we're not in the scale or at the scale of really understanding its effect on the creatives kasi we're not huge. Kung meron man, it's just designing, gano'n. Parang I feel like the conversations mas warranted siya sa bigger like companies or bigger communities like globally, or if not mga H&M and Uniqlo, kasi that's where the ripple effect is bigger than maybe let's say a designer uses it right now. Parang kami lang din makakakita nun. So parang it's not as impactful and we give it more leeway na sige, I mean explore that and that's fine.
So it's good na napag-usapan natin AI kasi I think it's a good addition to the discussion. But moving forward with the ground infrastructure, recurring theme of the first roundtable was that the Philippines has a strong talent but weaker system for distribution and scale. So for Miss Pauline, through SciTem, you connect Filipino design to global market. For Sir Marvin, through Purveyor, you document and amplify Filipino creative culture. And Sir John, through advertising, you translate culture into narratives that resonate with audience. So from your perspective, where is the real bottleneck today? Creation, visibility, or distribution?
Budget. I
Budget.
feel like that's where the bottleneck is because in our case, we always like to compare like how global markets are spending on advertising, right? And when you see the disparity talaga, it's crazy. So that's where we can start off first. Like what Miss Pauline mentioned earlier. When you take in account like kung usapan lang natin very fundamental, very simple. Gusto ng brand mag-shoot. Like when you take in account yung photographer, the makeup artist, the stylist, sometimes other agencies even skip a role eh. Huwag na mag-stylist, tayo na lang pumili ng damit. Kita mo yun sa material kapag lumabas yun ng ganun. But yeah, we're still in the process of like double, triple, quadruple hatting kasi walang budget eh. So we start off with presenting the case. Nga, you have to defend your case in dollars and cents. That's what we are trying to do. And I feel like if we do this as an economy, if we have like a common understanding as an industry that this is what we do first, let's try to defend and show these proponents that they are actually earning from the material that they're using na pinoproduce natin. That's where it starts off eh. But that's where the bottleneck is right now, budget.
Actually, totoo yun kasi parang based din on my experience, parang I should be like shooting for an ad for a company or like company, and then sabi, hala, ganyan ba talaga kamahal? Kasi syempre from production, since like it's a film like advertising, parang, ay, sorry po, ganito na po yung cut-off. Tapos sabi, after a few days, parang, hey Earl, can we have like reel na lang, tas ganda-gandahan na lang. So parang, ayun.
Yeah, but I agree with that. But just to double down on it, then it's also our responsibility as creative economists to defend that case and have them understand that okay, you're selling your SKU is just worth 10 million. You don't pitch a campaign worth 7. Right? Dapat meron ka rin like understanding of basic economy na parang what's the usual advertising spend on a product line is usually like 5 to 10%, right? So you pitch within that range para then you understand that they have to earn from it for it to make sense eh. So that's where creativity comes in. Okay, I understand that their budget is this. I'll try to make something out of that to make sure na
Hindi lang yan. Not just that you pitch, but that goes even further when the creatives who are part of the team learn to quote services based on scale, on the scale of the project as well. I remember working with this one creative who would say, but that's not worth, parang, it's not worth my time or me. So, panay government projects na lang kukunin mo dahil mas malaki yung budget nun. So parang, 'di ba? You have to also, when you're quoting as a talent, you have to have a price range that is commensurate to the project, right? If it's something that's going to be on social media, 'di ba? Gone tomorrow, one day shoot. Then it should be may rate na ganon. Hindi na every shoot is this amount.
Yeah.
Because going back into Mabuhay and from what we used to do in preview, I am up to now super shocked at how much it costs to produce. And this is for publishing. We're not even gonna earn out of producing, for example, an editorial. Because number one, there's just so many people involved. Whereas before, there were only like 4 or 5 people who would do Sure, in Purveyor, it used to be that way.
Yeah.
Now, even the assistants have assistants. And, di ba, parang at the end of the day, lahat yun kailangan bayaran. So, it's like the costing for to create shared work nowadays is sometimes really ridiculous.
It's, you know, creatives often say that it's hard to cost creative work kasi hindi siya apples to apples. But really, it has to be. And it is apples to apples. And it requires this level of understanding, of course, and education when it comes to finance, economy, and accounting para maintindihan natin kung paano siya magiging apples to apples. But you can't just, I agree with Pauline, you can't just say na parang, I'm a 500,000 peso photographer, and that's that. Diba? You have to understand how to defend it, what makes your case worth the try, and when you should be charging that much and when you shouldn't.
And that's, I think, yung importance ng learning throughout negotiations, which is kailangan din, I feel like, education-wise, parang natututo, part siya ng financial literacy na kailangan. Kasi parang yung experience ko na yun, hindi na nila ako biniligan. Parang pwede pa naman akong maybe we can scale down, pero parang sabi na, no, Earl, ano, ganda. So, we still got a project naman, pero parang, naano lang ako na parang, grabe naman, di man lang parang tried na let us speak, gano'n. But it's a good experience, actually. And I think negotiation should also be part of the learning na, kasi po parang right na, parang kawawa din naman yung mga younger generation na when we go out of school, na parang doon din nag-start yung exploitation minsan. So parang kawawa din naman sila. So how about you, Sir Marvin? Like, what for you, what's the bottleneck?
Bottleneck. Well, definitely, like, number one is finance, budget. Pero, alam naman natin yun, wala talaga. Or, if ever, yung use nun is really, to really support, like, projects. Like, if ever, what Pauline said na, wala silang machinery, like, the designer doesn't have the machinery to produce this much. But if there's a budget or a grant to actually help them build that machinery, maybe next year she can do it na. So parang I think it's that. But then outside of that, like from your choices, I think distribution is one. I think, as you know, like Purveyor also has a store. What we're happy about is we came at a good time. Like whenever we travel to other cities, to other countries, we look for places to go. We look for stores, cafes. And when you search here in the Philippines, we're probably top 5 because we don't have a lot. So that really just speaks to like distribution. Like even locally, we don't have a lot of stores. We don't have a lot of like places to see or maybe sell or expose our products or see local products, local design as much as maybe from the different country.
So curious po ako actually do sa the distribution. So how is it po like the distribution? For example, kung walang Purveyor Fair, like, di ba, paano naman yung local brands? In terms of the distribution right now of the print, so how is it right now po on your point of view? Like, is it good? How is it, yung parang how do we tell more stories and distribute, lalo na we have a lot of platforms, we have physical activations, how is it affect the creative economy in that way, distribution?
I guess iba-iba per industry talaga. Yeah, iba-iba. I mean, going back to what I said, it's for products. I mean, you can sell it online, but it's different. Like samples from, I guess, from our store. There are people who say that that's the only place that they can really touch it. Like they follow all these brands online, but they can really see it in person. So that's where. And then we also have a lot of films, tourists, like that they don't know that we have that. So having a store, having a place to go and expose them physically to something like that makes the experience better. Maybe they'll buy it immediately right then and there. Like the point of sale areas really helps the sale. If it's there, they can buy it. At least you get the sale kagad. So in terms of retail, distribution is a big part of like creative economy.
But I think it also depends on your business plan because, diba, if you really need the physical environment and a physical experience, that's one way. And then having as many touch points as possible so that you get a wider, so that more people have access to that experience, that good that you're producing, that's one way. But if you just want to reach as many people as possible, and if you're selling, you can do direct to consumer, and diba, online gives you a really good opportunity to do that. It gives you a wide berth, right? And it gives you a global stage to be able to do that. But then you also have to prepare for scale that way, because somebody, you know, uh, you could just have tens and thousands of orders right away, and you have to be ready to be able to not just fulfill but produce, if in a in a in the time, in a short amount of time, to be able to satisfy the need, right? So pwedeng gano. I mean, it really depends on,
Industry.
well, your business plan, right? And what kind of, what, how you, not just how you sell, but how you produce as well.
It's also so complex kasi parang talking about like print with you. Pero kasi we experienced it. Like we had 5 issues rin. The first print was a certain size, so it's big. And then when we were trying to ship it, hindi siya kasya sa large pack ng LBC in some orders. So firstly, in 2012, yung 800 peso na magazine was really expensive. And then add 200 pa to shipping kasi it's so big na hindi siya kasya sa pouch. So things like that, distribution is important, but also there's a lot more. There's complex stuff that you have to understand to get to that point. At least you can announce that it's available online, but then dadating na yung orders, you don't know how to actually do it now, procure it.
Sorry, ask ko lang po, what time is it? Alright, sakto lang. So, moving forward po, it's still part of the distribution. So, for Filipino creatives, often struggle to reach international audience consistently. So, if the Philippines wanted to position itself as a global creative hub, what infrastructure should we prioritize building right now? Platforms, expert programs, funding systems, or something else?
Again.
If we're going to position Philippines as an international global creative hub, what infrastructure should we prioritize building? Like platforms, export programs, funding system, or anything else? Or like top of mind nyo po? Parang,
Hindi naman pwedeng one or the other.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
have all of those in place. So it's a really complex system. So you cannot be that global creative hub if you're missing all
A piece,
the other
yeah.
components, right?
so, may other answers wala naman.
I mean, I agree with that. Pero if ever, just to to continue the conversation, I guess the thing that the most important, or at least the immediate thing that we can start on, kasi platforms is there. Ano pa iba? Meron naman na yun. I think yung financial systems or funding systems, I think that's something na there are I'm sure may mga grants and all, but if there's more there's more opportunity for different types of creatives, different types of projects to be able to get that funding, and I feel like marami rin kasi like getting stuck in, like they started young, and then they maybe get a bit of success, tapos yung scaling na naging problem, and then but then they're established enough but not big enough, pero no one's really helping them out na, like kasi parang they seem established in the public point of view. So I think yun na underserved rin yung ganong market, and with more funding systems we're able to see those more na parang who are the ones who's ready, kasi sometimes we're always so focused on the new stuff rin. So sometimes
Yeah.
the more new stuff, the more they're really new. They really don't know how to do it. So the focus is too much on them. Nawawala rin the ones who's ready. So parang just getting enough to really spread it out. I think that will help.
For the digital transformation naman, it reshaped the media. trade shows, and brand storytelling. Has digital expansion strengthened Filipino creative industries or made them more fragmented?
I don't necessarily think fragmented is a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially we're fragmented naman before it. so
We've always been
yeah,
fragmented.
diba? So okay
It's
lang.
a Pinoy trait.
Oo, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when we talk digital expansion, it's done our country more good than harm. Because like creative stages are very expensive. And that's what digital allowed us, na parang mas democratized yung way of releasing, putting content out there, putting creativity out there. So it's done us really, really good. But I agree, like being fragmented is siguro part of the identity. It says a lot about like how different we are even if we're in the same country, and that's part of what we should celebrate.
Jeepney nga, diba? So,
Ah.
full
Back-
circle na.
full
After
circle.
this, pwede na ha.
Okay na. Closing remarks na pala.
Bumalik na eh.
Since it's our identity, how do you think individually, like in different industries, how do we remain um, our identity, our culture, our as authentic Filipino creative?
Siguro you understand it first. Like you can't maintain something that you don't fully understand, observe, that you're not fully a part of. Siguro a huge part of maintaining Filipino creativity is always experiencing it. And yun, that's what I personally believe in.
I have a problem with the word authentic Filipino creativity. Because how do you quantify that? Authenticity meaning, and then what is that? 100% authentic if both your parents are Pinoy? If it was manufactured in the Philippines, but what if the raw materials are not? Does the raw material have to be 100% as well? So I think that's a label. That's an impossible label to put. I'll just give you an example. There, at one point in Saitem, we had this conversation about Pinoy designs, right? Or Pinoy designers. And because you were looking for authentic Pinoy designers, kailangan the prevailing conversation was it had to be one of the local weaves. So from Ilocos or something. Which was always a problem for me because and then it had to be some kind of Filipiniana for it to be Pinoy
Barong,
design,
yeah.
right? And I was like, wait a minute, you cannot say that the designs of, let's say, CJ or diba, Randolph or Ivar or Joey or Raho, or just because it's not primarily Filipiniana and made from local weaves, they're any less Pinoy. So I think it's that you should remove the authentic Pinoy from the equation and then just really concentrate on people who are registering their IP here because that makes it local and that makes it Pinoy.
So moving to how our identity pa din. Parang how do you think like we have a lot of creative hubs right now. So how that change creatives in the Philippines?
When we say creative hubs, what do you exactly?
For example, Escolta, for me, Purveyor Plaza is a hub also for Filipino brands. So how does it change the game? Making or like expanding, or for example, hindi na lang sa Metro Manila yung may creative hub. There are also creative hub on provinces, sana, in the future. So how do you think it will change for
I think it
creatives?
democratizes access to the creative industry. Pa-plug ko lang because I know
Go,
Saitem
miss.
Saitem is currently developing a creative hub within the Likhang Filipino Hall. So they are producing sound stages and so there will be facilities if you are going to like produce maybe a short film or animation or stuff. So and then other areas pa for the different creative sectors. Meeting areas, parang I think they'll have what do you call those sound stages where you can shoot against a blue screen, for example, or bring in a set. So because they understand that renting these spaces is one of the bigger blocks in terms of for budget anyway for young creatives. So they're looking to use that space as parang a creative hub. So
Is
in
it free, miss?
instances,
Ganon?
I think, don't quote me, I don't know the rates,
no
pero
worries.
parang below market rates because
At
it's
least affordable.
subsidized by
Yeah.
the site and budget. So parang that's one of the things that's on the docket that I think is going to be really exciting in terms of the creative industries.
How about you guys?
I think it's just really expanding the opportunity to be creative and to also practice as a creative. So one is if you're aspiring, you get to see more. I remember as a kid, like when I would go to a mall, you go to straight to a place that you like. Like parang my exposure to sneakers was Toby's or you know what I mean. And whatever they show there, that's what I'm exposed to. I mean, ngayon syempre different na kasi may online na rin. Dati wala naman. So what you see on TV, ganun. But now, so you're just really exercising that part of creativity. Now wherever the people are, you also show them like what Filipino creativity is. So both from aspiring and also from practicing kasi now they have more spaces to express, sell, or practice their craft.
Yeah, and siguro the most exciting thing about it as well is it's physical. You know, a lot of creatives thrive online. Karamihan din sa kanila, you know, since they're very young, they're very used to like, they're victims of the pandemic and everything, so they're very used to like traversing these spaces online. And now that we have these physical spaces, at least we see them going back out into the real world and experiencing creativity in that sense. So that's what's...
Oh, and I think the collab that happens in real life is different from when you're talking across Zoom.
Yes,
Yeah.
totoo po yun.
Yeah. So that's what we think the creative hubs do for these creatives.
Yeah. And I think one story kasi way back before pre-pandemic, we had a 20 square meter store in Bangkal. So yun, meron dun kid, they told me na kasi we're near a school. So there's a di naman toddler, pero siguro mga grade school kid that went back, asked for the cost of the cap. Tapos, it's 500, ganyan. So parang, sige, balikan ko, ipon lang ako. So things like that now they're exposed to brands like that, to designs like that, and to references na they're not really exposed to, and to be part of their lives as early as that, na without them really being consciously trying to be part of, let's say, the creative scene.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The graffiti is still up, by the way.
Nandun pa, yeah.
Nandun pa rin siya sa Bangkal.
So, in terms of, I'm still amazed as a creative kasi I'm all the way from Bataan. And I have one more sub question. But ano po yung sa tingin yung like paano ba? Ano po yung sa tingin yung move in terms of me coming from Bataan? I was exposed to creative industry in Manila. But ayoko naman solohin yung creative industry, and I want to share it that it's fun, it's not fun, but it's fun. So parang how do I encourage more creatives on the provinces? So parang in terms of hubs, hindi ko sure kung paano, parang how do we expand or like what move or what suggestion yung pwede kaya natin gawin, or like ano ba yung top on mind nyo, paano pa makakakaroon ng eyes sa creative industry yung mga creatives in the provinces.
I think you're underselling creatives in the provinces. This is just feeling, okay? I don't have empirical data
Yeah.
to back it up, but I
Curious lang
think
po
because
ako.
you're looking at it in such a structured way that it's a creative economy, right? Local governments are really tasked to kind of um, foment, right, or encourage parang creatives, not even in that official sense. So, like for example, diba, if you go to Naga, it's a really thriving band scene,
Yeah.
or
A lot.
or film in some instances, right? So all across the country, may ganon.
Yeah.
So um I so you have creatives there.
I think pali pala yung
just
phrasing ko.
it's
Ah.
just, I guess, if you want to expand that audience, or how
Ah.
that the creatives there can monetize more,
Yeah.
is maybe the question.
The question,
But
pa.
I feel that around the country there are
There are
enough, well, not enough, okay, there are places that you'll find creatives gather in an informal way, diba?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And like in your case, I'm from Bataan too.
Sorry.
Hermosa.
Okay.
Like in Bataan, hindi mo naman hahanapin na nasan dito yung mga visual artists natin, nasan
Yeah.
dito yung mga mananahe. The hip hop movement is really strong in Bataan. We have one of the one of the strongest groups in flip top,
flip-top,
in hip hop
yeah.
in general, 'di ba? So, I feel like that respect to what each region brings in terms of creativity is what we should pay attention to first. And I understand na parang, of course, yung intention naman and the dream is to always like help these creatives understand how they can earn more from their creativity and all that. But siguro that's more of a nationwide thing that we should be doing instead of like hyper localized.
The creative economy bill provides for that, because there are creative cities. So the mayors really have to try to look at the strengths of their individual jurisdiction, and then for them to be able to develop programs that may be tourism based, or develop programs so that eventually at the end of the day you're able to invite tourists to come in. So if it's hip hop nga, not just foreign, but I guess domestic, you travel to Bataan for there, you travel, 'di ba, to San Fernando for food,
Yes.
right? So it is a creative city. You go to Cebu for design. So those have already are part of UNESCO's creative cities. But and there are a lot more cities that are applying. But for cities who na parang wala pa, I think that's the challenge, is to be able to find kung communities, creative communities, which you can eventually develop and then one day market, so that your city becomes known for that.
But I guess also, siguro from the point of view of someone who's not knowledgeable of that, also siguro parang you experience Manila, the creativity in Manila, the promise of being creative here, and parang I feel like you want to be able to like to share that to people from your hometown. And yes, there are creatives, pero I think yung percentage lang din. I guess the number of people, the number of creatives there is, if you're part of that crew, you feel like it's a lot. But if you're not, you don't really know where to look. So I think if you want to kind of expand that in certain like cities or outside Manila, it's syempre like government responsibility na yun. But as you, if you really want to do something like that, yeah, you can start something like going to Novice. Novice is a magazine that focuses on aspiring, actually artists, starting artists. But when they started, it was focused on Nueva Vizcaya, kaya siya Novice. So they were sina Allen in their first I was touched kasi they started because they were able to see Purveyor post in Poblacion, then they saw the magazine. So parang, oh, they can do this pala, we can do this. So parang they started Novice to cater to Nueva Vizcaya artists, creatives. But then it expanded to like nationwide na rin. But eventually, that's what sparked. So I think that's something that you can do on your own. But then depending lang sa scale mo, like if you want a creative hub, then right, get ready to invest. Pero if you can do a platform, you can do an online like an Instagram thing. It's just really, there are things that you think people do here that you can do there. It's just that maybe the market is not ready. You won't have a better audience or a better engagement. But that's really how it also started in Manila. Like maybe 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So it's a different phase lang, a different phase in the creative journey of the city. So you just have to get in and do your thing.
I like na naman yung na-mention na yung market because our closing question actually, if we look ahead 10 years from now, what do you think pwedeng mangarap, pwedeng suggestion, what measurable change would prove that Filipino creativity can or may become a true economic engine?
Na may measure na. Siguro
Na may
in
measure
10
na.
years, we will know how to measure it na.
Hindi na authentic.
But ano po yung sa tingin yung what are those metrics of measure?
In 10 years, malaman natin. No, but I agree with Miss Pauline. No? Siguro in 10 years time, like, to see creativity as one of the top exports ng Philippines is one of the dreams and what I'm excited to see. And it comes with a lot of complex things that we need to do first. And a huge chunk of it, like what we mentioned earlier, is fixing the budget infrastructures, not just like nationwide, but even like sa mga private sectors, like education, practitioner education is a must para maintindihan yun. Yeah, but those few things, once done right, the dream ako siguro personally, I'd like to see creativity as one of our top exports globally.
In 10 years. No,
Nagbilang.
ako, or maybe as a legitimate economic driver. 'Di ba? Because when you look at what earns money for the Philippines, or which sectors is it? Microchips, 'di ba? That's or automotive. Hopefully, and there are not a lot of ways that you can quantify it. So while when we were working on the Creative Industries Act, we were all hypothesizing na it earns a significant amount of money if you put together advertising versus with the music, with animation, gaming, so on and so forth. But from NEDA pa lang, there's no way to quantify that. So sana in 10 years, 'di ba? There's a way to be able to see just how much the sectors contribute to the economy. And my hope is that because that information is available and you're able to quantify it, more people parang gaganahan na I will give my heart and soul to this industry dahil may patutunguhan siya. Because and then there are models of other people who have done it. Either worked here or exported their services or products abroad, but it becomes a legitimate model wherein as any creative going to Benilde in its first year will say, that's what I want to be when I grow up. Diba?
I like kasi na-mention din yan ni Sir John last time na at the end of the day, we wanted to be like sabi mo, di ba, parang like other kids na gusto ko maging doctor, maging lawyer, sinabi mo din na, yeah, it's really the same na sabi mo na, okay, as for younger students, yeah, it's a good goal for younger creatives. How about you, sir?
Ano yung tanong?
What do you think is the measure, what change or move in 10 years na parang mame-measure na natin na creativity is a economic driver?
What change? Well, yun nga, na-measure or it's really big enough, I guess. And also, I guess, we create, or if let's just say, wala yung financial capacity, I mean, recording capacity ng government and all. But we create more companies that are innately creative and contribute to the creative economy bigger. Para lang, from the outside pa lang, they can see na, okay, you can't pinpoint them na, oh no, they're a big contributor to the economy because they're in the food industry. Parang if let's say Disney's here, let's say we create something like Disney. Disney is a creative contributor. So if we can build companies like that, even from the onset, na we just look at it, uh, okay na. Like I think it's easily sellable to like to whoever's holding the budget, whoever's holding policies. We can build more companies like this if we can support them.
Alright, I've learned a lot today. Gusto ko lang din mag-thank you kasi it's another set round. Ako personally, madami po ako natututunan, but at the same time, kaya po din namin ginagawa to is you really want to share stories for younger student. And gusto ko lang po sanang malaman, parang since we're doing this for a round 2 session, gusto ko lang malaman yung thoughts nyo on the conversations that we're doing, parang nanghingi ng validation. Hindi, more on parang how do you think yung these kinds of roundtable discussion is really helpful to start a conversation in a bigger picture. Yun lang po. Parang manghihingi lang ako ng kamusta naman po, how is it na yung experience nyo from last roundtable and from this one, like how do you think the conversation can be like a contribution or like an educator for many creatives?
Oo naman, as long as you listen to it at 2 times, 3 times speed, no? Kasi tagal eh. I think there's for somebody who's really interested into it, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of knowledge and
Yeah,
fun.
Yeah, especially you have people like Miss Pauline. No, really, but like,
Yeah.
diba, if you understand
Yeah.
her background, like what
True.
she's already done, and of course, Sir Marvin, like just the fact that you gathered
Yeah.
these people and to have them have these conversations. Oftentimes, ito yung mga mahirap ipaliwanag eh. Ito yung
Yes.
mga konsepto na masyado pa siyang konsepto lang, lalo na for the younger ones na papasok pa lang sa creative industries. But, I hope, panoorin talaga nila to.
Yeah.
I hope umabot sila sa part ng podcast na to. But yeah.
You know what? I think the nice thing about it is you're contributing to the history.
Yeah.
It's I guess, because there's also not enough history from people to learn. So by documenting it, kahit walang makinig ngayon, maybe 10 years down the line, it still, diba, or 20 years down, it still contributes to the history of Philippine creative economy, diba? So, one anthropologist one day might just...
Actually, kasi hindi
diba?
naman kami personally din magkakilala ni Miss Pauline, but I've been a follower of Preview Magazine, kaya nakilala ko po siya. So, yeah, it's really helpful. I mean, for me as a creative, parang nag-start po kasi ako sa magazine. And then parang, ayun, I research, tapos parang, I think I'm gonna learn from this one, and then this one. And then I follow, and then I saw Madon Creatives. I think I'm gonna learn something from them. So I learned also, then Purveyor. So, how about you, sir?
Well, definitely helpful. I saw this one reel about automotive parang shop in Singapore. Random. But you learn something from reels every day. Pero parang this guy parang yung shop niya, basta may shop siya, he's been there for a long time. Then one line lang, if you go to me, you're getting something, you're gonna get something right because of all these years, I've already experienced the failure that these new guys are gonna experience. So parang alam na niya lahat. So parang this kind of like gives that to young people in some way, that experience that they don't have yet, that knowledge, that perspective that they can learn from. Definitely iba-iba rin ang reception of these messages depending on where they are in their life or in their journey as a creative, but at least it's there. So that's what makes me happy na it's there. And also documentation talaga. I think Purveyor is something that what we're happy about is we're able to capture parang snippets of culture from every year, and if you go back to it 10 years, 15 years from now, you get something.
I hope you
Yeah.
keep the raw.
The
The raw.
the raw, what do you mean?
The if you had film or
Yeah.
if you have the raw
Yeah.
files,
We have some.
you have
Yeah.
you have to keep the
After
archive
years.
because that's as important as the
Oh yeah,
output.
definitely. Yeah.
Right, so thank you po again. Maybe this is the time that each one of you should promote something. If you guys want to promote.
Well,
Ako wala.
hopefully you can visit Purveyor Plaza. I think that's something that we're open 6 days a week in Makati. Outside of that, we do Purveyor Fair every year, this September again, and follow Purveyor on Instagram. Instagram na lang, wala nang ibang platforms.
wala na.
Ayaw. Sige, yeah.
Others.
Yeah, for Madman, apply for internships
Yun.
sa Madman. Like, we get, what, 8 to 10 interns a year from Benilde. And these kids have always been the best kids. So, yeah, apply for internship. We're always open for internships. And, yeah, just try to follow us as well.
Biglang may naisip ako. No. If you fly pal, try and open a Mabuhay magazine. You'll see one of our storytellers this month is Madman Creatives. So it's a really interesting story about AI, the use of AI. So
Alright, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone.